couple things. Hopefully these will anticipate some of your questions. If not, we'll get to them. Levers and wedges. Basically, like if you're struggling to separate the feet, for example, if I'm just trying to lift Ken's legs straight up, yes, I'm trying to access a lever, but that is being fought by his hamstring curl, which is a fairly powerful motion. Certainly quite a bit more powerful than even my mighty biceps curl. So if I'm like, yeah, lever, 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 and then he starts crawling up on it, not super useful. This would be better. Right? If I can make somebody's hip externally rotate. So I actually taught an entire seminar just on what I call a ratchet lever, which is turning somebody's hip this way and this way, kind of depending on the situation. And I know ratchet lever is not a real term in physics, but it just, everyone knows what a lever is, or lever if you're from a country that doesn't speak English as well as other countries. Well, I found out the limit of the room, didn't I? So yeah. So everyone knows what a lever is, and everyone kind of knows how a ratchet works. So if I'm just like using a ratchet to control a lever or a lever, I'm good, right? Versus just trying to pull against someone's hamstring curl. And then as far as wedges go, if I just create a wedge and use that to separate my partner. So like you choose, you can use one or both. You don't have to have a favorite. It's not like children where you have to have a favorite. So either I've used a wedge, or I've used a lever to open this up, and I should be okay. If I'm just going directly against the hamstring by pulling, that's not going to be super effective. Were there going to be any questions that are answered by that? Are there questions?
What if they're weirdly strong in other ways? Like you try to pull them, their external rotation is surprisingly.
It's surprisingly strong, yeah. So the idea of direction change is really applicable here. I'm going to get you to stick your arm straight out for me, and don't let me push your arm down. So anytime, this is like the dumbest thing that works really well. If I am trying to pull this way, and he is then fighting me, sorry, it's hard to do like in the round. Okay, so right now I'm trying to externally rotate his hip, yeah, and he's just like, nah, okay. So like even if you're bizarrely strong in one direction, you're only going to be bizarrely strong in that direction while you're engaging your musculature. So if I can get you to be isometric in that moment, and then I change the plane of motion, how isometrically, unless you're just so insanely fast that you anticipate my change. So like I'm not saying it's going to be like 100% reliable. But even like, this is probably gonna like fail as an example. Can I get like a big dude here, please? Anybody like well over two? Yeah, there we go. Okay. So sit.
Finally, it's not me.
Okay, and you're gonna try to keep me from doing this. There you go. So I can separate this, and you knew what I was gonna do. Yeah. So if I'm just like, fuck, this guy's too strong. There we go. Got it. Now I put a wedge in, and now I'm good to go. So it's a matter of sudden direction change. Even if he knows I'm going to do it, he's not going to know like exactly when I'm going to do it. And so as long as he's fully committed to the hamstring or whatever, if I suddenly change direction, that's what we're going for. And that's not just like literally any one of the things that you do. If you're getting like a lot of resistance, a sudden direction change. So if you're pulling, start pushing or pull in a slightly different direction. Does that help out?
Yep.
Other questions? Thank you so much for your help. Thank you for being big. Other questions?
Would you also like do the like micro movement, like
shaking? The shaking the baby thing? Yeah, that's another. All the bitter parents love my seminars. So yes, absolutely. And the same goes for in the opposite direction. If I'm defending something, shaking the limb so that you don't get a good like a counterpoint to pull against is also very helpful. Yeah. All right. Next thing. So we've now separated our partner's legs. We kind of have a choice. We're either going to fall to the near hip, or depending on the situation, particularly those of you who are like, man, my ankle's really caught down here, like I'm having a hard time, That's okay. I'm going to fall to this hip. They're both fine as long as we understand what we're trying to achieve, which is, well, A, obviously I want to break this person's leg, but B, more important than that, before I ever get a chance to break their leg, can I keep them from getting up? Can I keep them from getting on top? Right? So I want you guys to now, okay, the legs are separated, you pick. You can fall to this hip, you can fall to that hip. And your partner's going to...
I'm not going to let you finish.
Okay, all right. Well, I made the mullet crack, so now I feel like I owe you one.
I can take the heat. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So we're going to fall to one hip or the other, whichever feels right. And your partner's going to try to get up. And you're going to try to keep them from getting up. We're still not trying to break them yet, but start trying to think about what makes more sense here. A knee bar or a toe hold, if you know what those things are, which I'm assuming that everyone here does. And start trying to get yourself into the position where you'd be finishing with a knee bar or a toe hold while your partner starts to try to build up. Yes?
You wouldn't roll this way now because your feet are in the way.
That's correct.
And so when you were going the opposite, if you're going this way, your right foot is tucked on his right hip.
Yeah, so like right now, my right foot, like...
You'd be going right.
I would probably be going right, but honestly, depending on the scenario, I might still go left. Like if I separated his feet and got to here, I'd still just go left. Because his ability to build up is now fully controlled by my right leg. So it's not like... There's one of my students has this great phrase, there's no such thing as can't, only consequences. You can do whatever you want, but there are going to be, so as long as you know that, like, because I'm a, sorry, this is a slight tangent, like, I'm pretty risk averse, right? Like, I'm not going to go out there and try to, like, flying armbar someone. Like, there's submissions that I think are, like, when I use the term dog shit, where, like, I know that they can work. Like, there's, like, physically plausible and tactically plausible, which is a term I stole from Rob Deagle. Like, there are submissions that, like, biomechanically can cause damage that I happen to think are dog shit. Because as long as I kind of know what they are, and I kind of know the defense, and I'm reasonably flexible, you're going to have an incredibly hard time pulling them off. I don't literally think that they are made of animal feces. Like, I think they're so low percentage that they're not worth my time. But there are people who, I will answer your question in a second. I hope it's not about like the content of animal feces. But like, I just, like when I try to explain to people, I'm like, listen dude, if you want to spend a lot of time going down this rabbit hole, you might be able to make it work. But you could spend a third of the time doing this, and you'll get way more results for it. So like, there's not such thing as like, I would just always do this. It's depending on the context. Like what makes sense 5 minutes into the match doesn't make sense with 10 seconds left. 10 seconds left, maybe I go for a Hail Mary dog shit submission because that's what's available. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You had a related question.
What's your hottest take about a dog shit submission?
I think calf slicers basically don't work. Like, I don't mean that they literally don't work. I mean, like, I have sat in calf slicers in competition and just looked at people and been like, are you done now? Can we do jiu-jitsu now? Again, it depends on body type, depends on a lot of things. I fully admit that calf slicers can work under the right circumstances. I myself have tapped to a calf slicer once or twice in my entire life. And it's been under, so there's a version of the calf slicer that I do think works, which is the one from the back where you've got the body lock, like the one that Charles Oliveira did in the UFC. Like, that's a real move if you get me, and that's the one that I've actually had to tap to. But the calf slicer from the truck and that kind of stuff, I don't really think that works very well. That's my hot take. Yeah. Any other questions? That part's not going on YouTube. So we know what we're doing, right? We've separated the feet. We're going to fall to one side or another, and our partner's going to try to build up, and we're going to try to stop them. All right? Okay, no clapping. Let's go.